Hello everybody and welcome to Chess24. This is the roundup show of Game 4 of the World Championship Finals between Magnus, Carlsen and Vishy, Anand. Today ended in a draw and I'm delighted to be joined by Grandmaster Gustafsson, who is going to help me break down the action from today. A good draw for Vishy. He's black against Magnus. He won with white yesterday. The match is level. It looks like if anybody has really had the moral victory so far, it's Vishy Anand.
Absolutely, especially given the start being down 1.5-half, and now he's made a comeback. He's won with white, held with black. Today, very typical Magnus game in a way. Nothing special in the opening, then some pressure, but Vishy survived. And let's have a look how it went, right?
Well, it looks like Magnus is opening with e4 pretty much all the time against Vishy at the moment. He doesn't mind playing against e5, as we saw. And c5 from Vishy Anand, the first time he's played that against Magnus in this match. Actually, I don't think he even played it in the last match against Magnus.
Not in the last match, but in between he's played quite a bit of c5 and then d6. I was praising this one c5 because it feels to me like in e4, e5 and in all these Berlins, anti-Berlins, whatever, it feels so much like Magnus territory. Even if he doesn't get an advantage, he feels so much at home in these structures, right? So I thought it was good by Vishy to go for the Sicilian, to go for one d4 and try to get some more dynamic structures. Of course, easier said than done with black against the world champion.
Absolutely, and after knight f3, e6 was another very clever choice, I think. By
I
Vishy.
thought so, because if you go d6, that's what he's been doing in the past to get the knight off. Then bishop b5 check is once again, a very Carlsen-esque line, like positional, slightly better, slow, grit and grind. And they've played this a bit, with Carlsen putting Vishy under quite some pressure here. Similar story about knight c6 is also bishop b5 leading to a slow positional game. So I thought e6 was an excellent choice, provoking d4, which Carlsen of course can play and has played, but doesn't feel like it's Carlsen territory as much.
So he played g3, which he's also played before.
Quite a bit, yeah.
Just a nice little slow sideline, not looking for much in the opening, but just trying to get a position and do what he does best, which is outplay people.
Looks like your cup of tea. Is this a line you've been playing? I wouldn't be surprised.
It's an English speciality. Adams, Howe, Jones have all played it with quite a bit of success as well.
In fairness, every sideline of the Sicilian is an English specialty, right? Like every line that is not an open Sicilian, but a Sicilian.
But this is one of the more sane sidelines.
This is a solid line.
Yeah. It's certainly not, it's not a bad move. Mickey Adams has played it 4, 5, 6 times already that I've seen personally. Maybe he's played it more.
Basically, any line that Magnus Carlsen plays 5 times and uses in a World Championship match, it's not going to be completely idiotic, right?
Absolutely. Well, you would hope not. And knight c6. He can play d5 here, which is really the critical response against the whole line.
It tends to transpose, but there is some move order subtleties, right?
There are.
One thing I was surprised, if you start with knight c6 after bishop g2, you normally go knight f6 here. This is kind of the latest trend in what Caruana has been playing, who earlier played d5, but he's been trying this. White normally goes d3, then d5, knight d2, leading to this kind of stuff, you know?
Or queen e2.
Queen e2, exactly.
Yeah. So this has all been seen before.
Yeah. But I couldn't quite figure out why Vishy would go for this d5, but with a move delayed, because it gives white some more options, but not really black, as far as I can tell.
Weird. Well, he took and castled. Clearly, black isn't doing too badly anyway.
No, but this castle is an extra option, which you don't have if you go for 3 d5, takes. Or do you? Maybe you do, actually. Bishop g2, because normally they go d4 here. I'm not quite sure.
There's also this annoying check. Yeah,
exactly.
There's also this annoying check, yeah.
That's why you can't go bishop g2, but you go d4, knight c6, bishop g2. And knight f6 leads to the game, but black has some extra moves like bishop g4. So not quite sure. I don't have Vishy Anand's preparation here, and he must have expected it, but I couldn't figure out why he would go knight c6 and then d5.
Interesting. Okay, well he did this, and white castled, and knight f6 and played d4. So, okay, and bishop e7.
All of this has been seen. Bishop e3 or dc5 have been played. Many games here. There's a game. Short Caruana in this very position. C takes d, knight takes d4. Bishop g4 is technically a novelty, but it all leads to the same kind of position. Normally they castled here first.
Yeah.
After castle, I think bishop g4 might be accurate, because here white has the option of going h3. In general, getting in h3, king h2 is quite often a good idea for white in these positions, just to cover that g4 square and getting his king a bit safer.
Right. So bishop g4.
I like this move order. Queen d3, queen d2 is just as possible.
Yeah.
Queen d7, just stopping h3. Here I got in a bit of a Twitter war while you guys were commentating. I was tweeting. I was suggesting knight c3, because I learned this old rule from Ben Larsen. You don't want to blockade the isolated pawn 15 times. You want to try to win it. So I was arguing for knight c3, but I have to admit that after looking at it a bit more, it's nothing special either. Knight c3, castles, rook e1, rook e8, let's say, black is fine. It's not so easy for white to make progress. So knight d2 is probably fine.
Castles and knight f3. And rook e8, rook e1, normal.
This is the next Twitter war here. I'm sorry. To rook e8. I didn't like rook e8 because it allows knight takes c6, b takes c, and knight to e5. Which I don't think is necessarily bad for black, but it's a tendency I felt Vishy had in the last match, that he would allow and invite simplifications, even in good positions, even if it led to a position where it was slightly worse. And I was surprised he allowed this and didn't start with bishop d6. I think this could be slightly better for white, actually. Queen b7, knight takes g4, knight takes g4, bishop d4. I thought it was nice for white.
Or queen e6.
Yeah, similar story. Takes, bishop d4.
And something like this.
Yeah. It's nothing special, but it looks like this Carlsen-esque. It's nothing but, you know, some options. Rook d1, b3, c4, bishop against knight.
Yep, I agree.
They both thought it's nothing, obviously, since they allowed it and didn't play it, but I was a bit surprised.
Okay, rook f8, rook fe1 was played, and now bishop d6. And c3, just bolstering in the centre there. h6. And now the move queen f1, which is a Carlsen-esque move.
It is a great move. It's also the first computer move, and once again I was discussing with people, I was saying, come on, there's no way he's going to play queen f1, this looks ridiculous. And then a certain Fabiano Caruana, I'm not sure if you heard of him, did quite well in this St. Louis.
Yeah, I might have heard of him.
Yeah. He pointed out, of course you go queen f1, you're preparing h3, king h2, knight h4, and it's a classy move.
And really, the more you think about it, there aren't that many moves available to white here.
No, because rook 81 looks normal, but it's a bit clumsy. You move into this diagonal, you pin yourself, you can't free yourself so easily. It looks awkward.
I think queen f1 is just the right move in this
Strong
position.
move, yeah.
And I really like bishop h5 as well by
agree.
Vishy, anticipating this h3, knight h4.
Exactly.
h3.
I don't like h3. I thought knight h4 was a critical move.
Yeah, we looked at this. We got some analysis here. We looked at it again. But it does look like knight g4 is a problem.
I was looking at this, knight g4, queen to b5, knight takes e3, rook takes.
Oh, you want to go rook takes, not pawn takes.
Yeah, sorry.
So pawn takes is a problem because of a6 and rook e5.
Yeah, and there's counterplay, exactly.
So you have to go rook takes.
Yeah, I was looking at something like this. Rook takes, pawn takes, and there's many moves here. Bishop g4, I think is the computer move.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, bishop takes d5, or queen takes d5. There's some compensation for the pawn. As a martial player, you'd probably be happy here, but I still think it's much better than what Carlsen got in the game. I thought only white can be better here.
So you don't like h3, you like knight h4 straight away.
Right. Because h3 allows bishop g6 when the bishop is headed towards e4, and I felt like black's pieces are perfect, and you can never be better with white here.
Yeah, absolutely. Rook ad1, rook ad8. Again, a6 was interesting, just stopping any knight b5 leaps.
Right.
But rook ad8 is normal.
Can't be wrong here.
And now the interesting moment, knight takes c6. So radical change of pawn structure, but the idea is, of course, that after b takes c6, you go c4.
Yeah, and it's a very sound idea strategically, because white will always have the better strategic static position. a7 is weak, d5 or c6 or whatever pawn remains is weak. But black's pieces are so active that I have a very hard time believing black is in any trouble whatsoever here.
I would tend to agree. An interesting move pointed out by Paco Viejo in this position is to play bishop c2.
Oh, interesting. To force rook c1 and then bishop e4.
Well, yeah, rook c1 or rook d2, let's say.
But rook d2 is always bishop b4.
And then bishop b4, right. And then the problem is that you've got a worse... You've got the same position as the game, but your rooks are worse.
Right.
And the big question is whether the rook is actually better on c1, because now after bishop e4, there's absolutely no pressure along the d file, and no problems that happen. So bishop c2 was a really interesting suggestion.
Yeah, I was looking at bishop b4, which also looked quite good.
Looked good as well, yeah.
So I think Vishy is fine here, but he had to play a bit more dynamically. And his next three moves I wasn't so sure about. Bishop e4.
Bishop d4 is good.
Yeah, knight h7. You have to do this maybe, but I'm sure the knight will be happier on e4 than on h7. So.
Yeah. Well, he had to do something, didn't he? Takes, bishop takes, and now takes. And I quite like the idea of queen a6 here. It felt like a logical move to me. To A, protect a2, to pressurize a7, c6 is weak. I don't know.
It's concrete, right? Queen f5, and the question is if black can generate counterplay quickly.
Oh, queen f5. Yeah, maybe we'd have to go back then, which isn't great. Okay, so queen d3.
Yeah, this feels compact, you know. Yeah. Here I started to worry about Vishy because this feels like such a Carlsen position. Nothing special, but better pawn structure. White is totally safe, and he's grinded out wins from much lesser positions, hasn't he?
He certainly has. Knight f8, I didn't mind. And now knight h4. And
I minded knight h4, actually. Like, knight h4 is completely safe, but allows Vishy to organize some mass exchanges, which he does, and he defended very precisely. Well, I thought, keep some pieces, play a move like bishop c3, preparing queen to d4. And I thought, this is not fun at all.
Right.
Also, after bishop c3, you have the option of going knight d4, a bit more flexible, queen d4. I thought knight h4 actually let Anand off the hook.
May have been a slight... Yeah, very interesting. Because now this bishop e5 move is an excellent move, isn't it?
Yeah.
You have to play it pretty much.
I think from now on you can nothing but praise Anand's defense. He ended up in a slightly difficult situation, but he played very precisely from here on.
Yeah, he just managed to keep things at bay, got a pair of rooks off. Rook d5 was
another classy move.
Very good move by Vishy. And the point is that after the exchange, we reach an endgame where, you know, white might be nominally better, but it's nothing more than that, is it?
Black is compact. The d pawn is also a passed pawn now. Queen and knight tend to work together well, both offensively and defensively. I think it's nothing here.
Knight e5, queen f5, knight back to d3, and knight d4. That's another good move. And just a little tactic. You have to be a bit careful. If you go queen e3, knight c2, and then try and chase this knight, that runs into
d3.
Queen takes d3
okay.
and knight e1. I'm sure both of these guys saw that. But what you can do is always inject a check and then come back, and then suddenly queen takes d3 runs into check. So you can't do that.
But even after queen e2 in your line, if black goes knight d4,
then it's still a draw.
Nothing, right? I mean, queen e3, knight c2, or queen e4 check always holds. So not much going on.
But g4 just goes to show what this boy is all about. He just doesn't settle for a draw.
Right? He just doesn't care.
I'd hate to, you know. I was commenting during the match. Can you imagine a Kasparov-Karpov bout? It would have gone knight c2, knight d4. They would have shaken hands and gone home. But this boy, he just wants to play till the very bitter end until there's no other way. And okay, queen d7 was an excellent practical choice, I think, by Vishy. Because even though this probably is very holdable...
Yeah, the machine says this is fine, but you don't want to go here if you don't have to. I was looking at this, like king f8, knight b4, king e7, and the computer says it's fine, but over the board you want to give a pawn and hope it's fine? Like, can't do that.
So queen d7 is an excellent move by Vishy, and after queen e5, knight e6, he's just... You know, he's still solid, protecting all of his weaknesses.
Fine. White king is always too open to hope for anything real here.
Queen b5, another great move, just forcing the exchange of knights. Queen b4...
Queen b4 you could argue about. I was saying g6 or... Well, many moves. I like g6 just to always have king g7 and there's nothing. But queen b4 is good enough, actually.
Queen b4, the king came back, and now d4. So he sacrifices a pawn, but gets tremendous counterplay with the queen, which is more important.
Absolutely. Also in queen endings they say it's not the number of pawns but the activity and how far advanced your pawns are. The d pawn is actually the most advanced guy on the board. So imagine black gets d3, queen e2, d2, all of a sudden you're winning. So you have to be a bit careful with white.
Absolutely. And it was around here where, you know,
time to shake hands.
time to admit that you can't make any more progress and force a draw. So a great result for Vishy. He defended well. Carlsen, we didn't see him pressure like we have done in the past. I think so far Vishy is definitely the one who's happier of the players. There's a rest day tomorrow, and then Vishy's got white in game 5. A win there for Vishy, and suddenly, given it's such a short match, you know.
Yeah, the Trent is certainly in Vishy's favor. The Trent with a D, no pun intended. But it's still Magnus Carlsen you're dealing with. And even a game like today, he didn't win and he didn't put that much pressure. But it's still so tough to play this guy 6 hours every day. Okay, you equalize, so what? I'll try g4 and you're still sitting there defending, right?
Yeah.
And that's how he won the last match. It was also 2 drawn rook endings, but he just kept playing.
I think the big difference between this and the last match so far is that Vishy has chosen more aggressive openings. He has not been as passive and relied on the fact that, well, this might be a draw, but in the end he just ended up being ground down. I really like his approach so far. I think it's absolutely right. And we'll see what happens the day after tomorrow. Remember to join us here at Chess24. You can watch us in English, Spanish, German, Russian. What more do you want?
What other language?
Well, there's French. We had a few complaints about.
Ah, okay.
But
parlez-vous le français?
Oh, oui, oui. Un petit peu.
Je ne peux pas parler.
Okay. No French, I'm afraid, but all the other languages, and of course, check out all of the other content here on Chess24. But until the day after tomorrow, have a very pleasant evening.
Until recently, chess was like this. Chess24 brought you this. Live interactive broadcasts from top tournaments with computer analysis and video commentary by the likes of Jan Gustafsson, Lawrence Trent and Peters Fidler. A play zone where you can take on opponents from all around the world 24/7. Interactive beginners courses ensuring you pick up the basics fast while having fun. A tactics trainer to sharpen your chess by solving puzzles adapted to your level. Hundreds of interactive videos letting you watch and learn from star players such as Vishy Anand, Peters Fidler, Paco Vallejo and Hu Yifan. You've given up on that outdated computer? That's why there are more reasons to use Chess24 on mobiles and tablets. Full playzone access, including pre-move. A tactics trainer so you can stay sharp wherever you are. Computer opponents you can challenge even when you're not online. Live broadcasts of top chess events. And the half? It's free. Well, that's half true. Most features are free, but limited for registered members. You can step up to premium membership and gain unlimited access to our video library. That and much more. All this month, Chess24 is offering a special premium membership for just $9.99 per month or $99 per year. See you at chess24.com.